Welcome, everyone. I'm seeing lots of people come, and we really worked hard, everyone, to get the word out. Ooh, isn't that funny? Get the word out. I didn't even plan to say that. Oh, that's funny. I didn't. Oh my goodness. Okay, but it worked. My first point is it worked. And so we want to thank you all. I realized it pays to kind of ask people to pass along the information. So we're moving into our last year of this grant. And I want y'all to know, you know, why not make a bigger splash this year than we have either of the other 2 years? And so we could use your help, and I'll refer to that again. If I haven't met you, my name's Carmen Bowman. I got this grant way before COVID. And of course, it was paused for a while. And of course, COVID has affected everything we've tried to do. But here we are still. So that's something, right? And this coming round of classes, I just thought it would be apropos with a new year to start with new words. And it takes time to change language. So we've actually done some of this already. Everything we've done is also recorded if you want recording. And so here we go. And I have a couple of guest speakers toward the end today. I'll introduce you when it's time. Now, language just interests me. Does it interest anybody else? I love language. I love words. I love finding the right word. I've done a lot of writing. I love finding a title for a session or a title for a book, and I had the blessing to be a part of a white paper that you see here that is called The Power of Language to Create Culture. And I got to write it with a PhD in linguistics, who is also a psychologist and involved with the culture change movement. He's now retired, Judah Ranch, but we also did it with one of his grad students. And this is free. It's going to be later. It's at my website and the Pioneer Network website if you want to learn more. It's a little bit of a reading, but you would learn a lot. So we're going to start with learning from the disability community. They started talking about person-first language before we did. They also started talking about person-centered care before we did. And so I want you to see how we've sort of built upon this. And they make the point that people are people first. And any disability, any condition, anything is later, right? So people with disability diagnoses are people first. People who live in nursing homes are people first. People with dementia, all of us are people first. And then they coined person first language. So exactly what it says, put the person first, put the person before the disability. So someone tell me if I have some, oh boy, what, I don't know. I'll show you a couple here in a minute. And then the flip side, person first language describes what a person has. And it doesn't muck it up with who they are. It describes what they have, what a person has, not who a person is. Isn't that profound? So we don't want to smush together has and is. So here's some examples. Okay. Wait, I want to wait for my funny one. So look at this. Diabetic. We say diabetic a lot, don't we? How many of us have said it today? Right? And doesn't it feel pretty normal? You say it, I say it, diabetic. And because we're used to everyone saying it, it feels fine. However, what did it just smush together, right? It called the person a diabetic. It smushed together who they are with their diagnosis. So person first language would teach us to talk about this person first who happens to have diabetes. I challenge you all to try that. It is challenging. I'm trying to do that because diabetic is so common. And so common stuff is going to be hard to get rid of. Paraplegic would be the same. Is that person a paraplegic or a person who has paraplegia? And then I think this one's funny. Anyone wearing glasses on the line? I mean, I do once in a while. There's Brittany. So guess what, guys? Here's a great flip side example. None of us say, oh, I'm myopic. We don't go around saying I'm myopic. Do you, Brittany? Anybody else? Okay. So I just realized, why don't we take that one as our lead? We don't call ourselves myopic. So let's not call ourselves anything else, And another tip, a lot of the words that end in IC, ick, tend to be a label and tend to not be person first. So isn't that fun? And as I go, if I miss a good one, you can interrupt me, I don't care, or you can put in the chat box, okay? Try to think of other medical ick words that would fit, okay? Now, this is a wonderful, wonderful way to get our point across. Are you ready? So, what do you prefer to be called? Handicapped, disabled, or physically challenged? And he says, Joe would be fine. Need I say more? Can I have a round of applause? Can I hear an amen? That is so good, everybody. And then the quip that goes with it, the most appropriate label, I'd say the only label is usually the one our parents have given us. What do you think? Isn't that great? You could decide today to never, ever, ever label a person again. No labels, and really focus on their name first. And if you're talking about a group or something, the word people or person. If you're not talking about an individual that you would then call by name. Wow, isn't that profound? And did you know this idea of labeling even showed up in the federal regs in 2009? Isn't that great? It came after our first national symposium on culture change and the environment in 2008. And we got some good changes that are still there. So if you go look this up, you'll see it. And I highly recommend you do, and get your team on board. Sometimes when something's in a reg, it gives it a little more emphasis to us, right? Having been a student of regulation my whole career, I would encourage you all to lean into the good regs. You know, like there's so many good regs that we're actually not living up to that we could. And sorry, but surveyors aren't always surveying them. No offense to them, really. They're following the critical element pathways and they don't have a lot of time. They can't do everything. And partly we're glad about that, right? But there's some things that if they focused on them more, we would do them. We know that to be true. I find that interesting. So here's what it says. Avoid the use of labels for residents such as feeders or walkers. Now, somebody, Brittany, I love it. Brittany is sticking out her tongue. That's exactly right. Now, who can unmute themselves and tell me what really is a feeder? Somebody, try it.
A feeder is a person who needs assistance with eating.
Ah, well, this is the big question, guys. Someone look it up on your phone. What really is a feeder? Will you find a person who needs assistance with feeding? Yes, Kelly brought up pigs.
Probably
guys.
not.
Guess what? Yeah. So
cattle.
So you fell into the trap. It shows you how institutional we are, right? That's right. Cattle and pigs. Actually, the young pigs and the young cows are called feeders because they're being fattened for market. Just take that in, everyone. That's really the definition of feeder. Now, of course, there's fish bottom feeders. There's like a trough is a feeder. Oh my goodness, it's not getting better, right? And
I did at least put person first.
Hey, way to go. It's okay, guys. We're all learning. It's okay. Thank you for diving in there, okay? Just let's observe what's happening. It's so interesting. Are you ready for this? You got to see me. I hope you can see me. I got to show you something. Ready? I should have grabbed a fork or a spoon, but pretend this is a fork or a spoon. Ready? Ready, watch. Who really is the feeder, if anyone's the feeder? Isn't that interesting? So another point to be made about this silly word is that it's not even grammatically correct. I asked my husband the other day, he's from Wyoming. I said, honey, what's a feeder? And that's what he brought up. It's actually the person doing the feeding, but I'm not promoting that either. So notice, guys, that word is not grammatically correct and super disrespectful. And so what I love saying is maybe today you could say to yourself, I am never using that word ever again. And some of you probably have naturally, and isn't that great? That's what I want to move into more of. So now another one that CMS at least identified was a label called walkers. So people who walk. And ready? Here we go. What other labels have you heard? Woo! Go, go, go.
Early riser, get up list.
Okay, yes, early riser, get up list. The get ups I've heard that turn into. You've all heard them. Let's get a whole bunch. Go, go, go. Dyslexic rather than someone who struggles with letter order. Ooh, Pam, educate us. That's great. Which actually explains what dyslexia is for those who don't know. That's excellent. Thank you. Downs. Someone just referred to their downs, right? Keep going. There's so many. Go, go, go. Labels. Think of diagnoses, everyone. What diagnoses do we hear as a label?
And so a label we hear often in nursing homes is a max assist.
Yes,
That's what
yes,
people call it.
yes, 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 guys. The max assist. How would you like to be known as that?
Or a faller.
Yes, a faller. Keep going. There's some more with fallers, guys. Have you heard them? I'm sure you have.
Non-compliant.
Oh, that's a big one. Non-compliant. And we all joke, raise your hand if you're going to be non-compliant. We all say it all the time. We know it. So why don't we do something about that? Because that's the truth. Non-compliant really means we want to make a what? Somebody answer.
They have to follow the things we ask them to do.
Well,
That's
okay, just yes, that's
and
the problem.
that's why we put them as a label, is that they are unwilling to comply to what
That's right.
we
That's
are
right. That's right. Now keep going, guys, though. Keep going. Somebody try to go to this. The term non-compliant. It means they want to actually make a what? They're non-compliant with what we say they should do. So they're trying to make a what?
They're
decision.
trying to decide what they want to do.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad, you guys? Our brains barely recognize that anymore, kind of, you know? So first step would be to try to encourage other not to use these labeling language, the labels, including non-compliant. And then when someone doesn't want to follow the physician order, you say it like that. They don't want to. Are you going to want to? No. Hello. By the way, everybody, we did 2 sessions on the new dining practice standards that are standards of practice to help us as professionals be able to help people eat what they want to eat. I highly recommend you go listen to them if you would like to. Okay, we have some more labels here. Borderline, crier, frequent faller. That's right. So we have a faller, we have frequent faller, and there's another one. If someone falls a lot, what do they get labeled as?
Naughty.
Yeah. We've probably even said that, haven't we?
Has
Anybody
fall
know
risk,
Let's
fall
see.
risk?
Well, Patty, that's one of them, but not the one I'm thinking of.
Oh,
Larissa said the same thing. Ooh, Kelly said one-on-one. Yeah. Here's the one. Ready? Maybe you guys don't say it so much in Wyoming. Oh my gosh, it's in Florida. Ready? Repeat offender.
Oh, no, we use that.
Okay, I thought so. Beware. That is really not dignified now, is it? I don't know what is up with us. Yikes, Larissa said. That is a bad one. I agree. What is the matter with us? So there's more, sadly. The screamer, the wetter, the isolator, the hoarder, the wanderer. One of you said that. The complainer. You guys, I highly recommend none of us ever call someone a complainer ever again. Ever. That's a person who has perhaps a legitimate concern and they're able to speak up about it, right? And you want them. You guys want to have good life? You want to know what people are thinking. You want people to speak up, right? And then we also tend to label family members, creating yet another barrier. That's right. What do we label family members, you guys? I know. It's so funny. Okay. Someone has a thought. We label them difficult. That's right, Heather. That's what I've heard. And frequent complainers. Oh, so you're not just a complainer, but a frequent complainer. Look at that. Yep. And we'll get to combative in a moment. Okay, hang on there, Jeannie. And we've got needy.
Over involved.
Over involved. Oh my gosh.
That's
Kelly.
a good one, Kelly.
Oh my gosh. That's too bad, you guys. Isn't that sad? So let's talk about difficult family member. Ready? When you live in a nursing home and you're older and you can't make things happen like you wish you could, you know, raise your hand if you're going to hope to God you have a difficult family member coming in on your behalf. Do you see, guys? Once again, we need them. We want them. I recommend you collect and you tell people we want to know whatever's happening. Don't be afraid. And homes that have done this, teams that have changed the perspective, you need the family's view. You need the resident's view. You need to know what really happened on the weekend or whatever. And we're all in this together. We're not making the staff bad either, right? Oh, it's so good. Okay, so let's move on. And then if we have time, we'll get to combative. Jamie, we'll hear your story. Very good. All right, some more labels. The quad, the Alzheimer's, the CVA, the get ups. Thank you, Brittany. You could be the put downs in the put down pile too, is kind of how it sounds, right? I'm a get up and a put down. How about you? So just avoid them. There's many words that we don't even need a replacement, guys. Just say what's happening. Say the truth of the matter. It's always better. The Alzheimer's patient. No, the dementia resident. No, no, no. That's not person first, as you can see. And sadly, I've even heard it recently. I do a lot of Zoom calls, as you all know. And in a nursing home, not too long ago, not in your state, by the way, I heard someone say, hey, have you gotten to 300B yet? You know, isn't that too bad? Or referring to someone as the room number or the bed A, etc. And did you know the term memory care is actually not compliant with HIPAA? Anyone ever thought of that? It gives it all away, doesn't it? Isn't that interesting? All right, moving on. Oh boy, get ready. Here comes some. I'd love for y'all to think, what is a patient really? If you look it up, someone look it up, try to define it. What is a patient? What's happening when we use that word? What is a patient?
They're not in a hospital.
Well, actually, when someone's being called a patient, aren't they in a hospital?
Well, you would hope.
Okay. Well, that's kind of where it came from, everyone. The word patient is used in a hospital, it's used in medical care quite a bit. The doctor, to our physicians, we are patients, right? And to be honest, that's about the only time, really. And so look what happened. The language of hospitals flowed into the institutional hospital looking nursing home. And we used to say patient a lot, especially in the 80s. And did you know, with over 87, they purposely put resident in there because they wanted to get rid of patient, which is excellent. But guess what word has been resurrected during COVID? I hear patient more than I have in decades lately. So beware of that. And then the word resident. Many
Yeah, I
people
just want
have
to let you know the
also,
2 risks are ready for you to sign.
we also have noticed the term resident is kind of institutional, kind of not normal. Even though we are residents of our home, yay, we never really use that term. So I'm never saying what's right or wrong. You do what you want, but many culture change homes have dropped the word resident and instead, again, person first. They tend to use these more normal words, person, individual. Some of your homes, some of your people who live there have voted on being called neighbors. I saw that in Colorado. To this day, some homes in Colorado refer to the people who live there as neighbors. Now, the best thing about that, in my opinion, is ready. Someone answer this trivia question. When you move in, you're not the new admit, you're the new what?
Neighbor.
Yes, isn't that beautiful? The new neighbor. Oh, I love that. And then hopefully you're moving to neighborhoods, the language of neighborhoods instead of units, and the word community instead of facility. And notice the words community, neighborhood, neighbor, all flow so beautifully. That's one reason I personally like neighbor. Now we have an interesting thing in one of your Wyoming homes, South Lincoln, they all chose to be called neighbors until recently when they chose to drop neighbor and they're choosing the word friends instead. Isn't that great? And I had to think about this. Years ago, I was working with a home in Colorado and they considered the word friend. However, they realized not everyone is friends with each other. So they went with neighbor because I'm not friends with all my neighbors either, you know? Isn't it fun to just think about? But apparently at South Lincoln, they're all friends. That's even better. And it's a small community, small place, right? And then Brittany Hall is going to tell you their story in a little bit on moving to another term. Brittany, you want to just say it now, maybe?
So when we started culture change, we started talking to our residents at Life Care. Tammy Morrison's on here too, about being called neighbors and elders. And they actually voted to not be called elders because they felt like old people. So we went back to resident.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all okay, guys. The fact that you're talking about it, the fact that the people who live there are being asked to think about it and deciding, you guys, that's beautiful. Beauty. Okay, now, elder. Some of you do use elder. And I just want to say out loud, first of all, whenever elder is used, everybody please realize it's only meant out of very high respect. We're trying to give respect to older people that they don't really have in our society, right? So Eden Alternative Homes, you will hear them refer to elders. They just do. And I have to also admit what Brittany just said, I've heard a lot, that a lot of people say they don't want to be called elder. You know, isn't that interesting? Some people are younger now living in nursing homes, and even the older ones, they too don't want to be called elder. Is that what you said, Brittany? Even though they're older, it makes them feel older. We get it. We get it, right? So I would just say, keep talking to the people who live there. They should be the ones to decide. Look at this language, patient-centered actually ignores the person. And thank you, Kelly, in the chat box. Kelly looked it up. And this is a point I want to make. A patient is a person receiving or registered to receive medical treatment. And so we're trying to move away from, it's kind of a passive stance. It doesn't really have anything to do with honoring, you know, the person, individualized care, decision-making authority, choice in their life. That's part of the problem, I think, with non-compliant, etc. Kelly also says we're seeing a younger generation and they have requested to be called by their name. Huh. Well, Kelly, the big question is, how do they want to be called as a group? I tend to say the people who live here, and by the way, everybody, it's longer. Sometimes new language is sort of cumbersome, but if you just decide to do it anyway, nobody gets offended when you call them people. The people, then there's people who live here and people who work here. I'm not telling you what to do, but we're just looking at all the options. Another quote, patients, residents. They're all people first. Here's a great quote. Someone in Fort Collins says this, the nursing home administrator. Resident, he said one day, I hate that word. He was a person way before he was a resident of a nursing home. Wow. Need I say more? Isn't that good? Okay. Now, some more things, guys. Let's turn to you all. We all use this word staff a lot. Does anyone not like the word staff? Has anyone ever looked it up? Has anyone ever thought about it? And I learned this from smarter people than me that started to say that word is sort of weird. It's sort of impersonal. Oh, and look at this. It tends to put a person in a role instead of a relationship. Wow. And do you have staff in your home? I wish I did. How about you? I've always wanted a maid. Anybody else? And watch out, guys. Here's what also happens. People start to say my staff. I don't know why we do that. You know, when I began as an activity assistant long ago, I was under an activity director, and she wasn't good, you guys. She would talk like this, and she never learned the residents' names, and she was belittling, and she called me my assistant. See, and I really didn't assist her. I assisted the residents. So beware. Sometimes people do not feel respected when we say, oh, she's my staff or my girls. I've even seen, I'm flipping now to CNAs calling residents my babies. When I was a surveyor, someone did that in front of me. And I'm not saying, you know, but think about it. If you're going to use derogatory language, probably not smart to do it in front of the surveyor. Plus, it shows they probably didn't realize. So just things to think about. And then we kind of do it this way too. Our residents, blah, blah, blah. Or if you got to go work on care plans, we sometimes say my care plans. Nope, they're not yours. So I would encourage you all to keep reframing back to the person. It's very good and healthy for all of us. I like talking about the home where people live. more than the home where you work, because the word facility, medical care keeps getting all the attention. And I believe it comes from like, we are professionals in this medical healthcare facility. So just be aware of that. And unfortunately, it doesn't help us refocus on the fact that people actually live there and that's actually their home. And we come and go. It's only our workplace. Another point to make is that the Eden alternative right here jumped to the word partner. So there's employee partners, sometimes they're called care partners, but they also refer to the elder care partners and the family care partners. And the word partner is wisely used right there because it shows everyone's equal. So if you want to think about that, how brilliant to welcome family and say, you are a partner and you are equal to us. Imagine less stress for the family. And person moving in, you are a partner. You're in charge of you more than we're in charge of you. See, whew, it is so beautiful. You could maybe talk about that. And then other words that have to do kind of with you guys. Department is so old. It is so ancient. It is so institutional. I highly recommend shifting over to team. It's so much more powerful. Notice there's power in words. And when you say department, look at the power. The power is just perpetuating the institutional model that we're fighting against. But the word team, wow, says what it really is. And it reminds everyone what it really is and should be. And I would recommend you jump on words that empower and bring life into your place and into your work and into your team. Here's another one. Let me see if I can phrase it like a trivia question, okay? Why would I or we recommend not using the word in service? I recommend not using it. Has anyone ever thought of that as well? In service. So here's my next clue to the trivia question. Think of a plan of correction. What gets said on every plan of correction? The staff will be what? Somebody tell me. The staff will be written up, yes, but on the term of in service, the staff will be in service. Do you see? It does not put staff in a good light. And that is used a lot. I don't know. I've just read a lot of plans of correction. And so if you think of adults, you don't work in long-term care, you don't work in this field. What is it called for adults when the word in service is not used? What would people normally call it?
Education.
I think so. So I'm just passing that idea on to you to refer to education every time instead of an in service. See what it does for your culture. Here's another
You
one.
even word it more kindly instead of will be. You could say staff will receive education.
Oh, exactly.
Be given education.
Yes, Tracy. Yes. That's right. That's what we want. Respectful language for everybody. And then no offense to anyone who works in dietary, but it too is pretty outdated word now. I don't know if you know that. Think of dietary department. Where are you? Most likely in a hospital. And they probably don't call it that either because a lot of hospitals have restaurant service, menu service, right? So nursing homes have gone to dining services, culinary services, wow. And some even have a chef. So it really is culinary. The regulations change from dietary services to food and nutrition services. So you got some options there to think about what are the best words to say what we mean. Now here comes word association. So everybody get ready to either unmute or type. Ready? So you remember how this goes. I'm going to say a word and you have to think of what pops into your head immediately. Ready, set, go. Elderly. Ah, shoot.
Old people.
Okay, old people. First thing in your head.
Who says me?
Who says me?
Is that Eric Boley?
Did somebody say me? It's probably Eric.
That's Eric.
Yeah, that's Eric. Yeah, that's Eric. All right. Silly Eric. Me, grandma, mature. Ooh, mature, Heather. Heather actually said something positive. That's pretty cool. Older family members, mature, me, old people, older population, grandma. Yep, old. Okay. Now, if I dare say, looking quickly at this, most terms are not that positive, and that's the point. I just learned this from a doctor of gerontology at Denver University. He points out, isn't it interesting? The word itself has basically become ageist. Like we tend to not think positively about that word. Some of us do probably because we love this feel. We love older people, but think of frail, decrepit, senile kind of thing. And Eric Foley saying me. See, it points it out. Perfect. Now the word senior. Again, I'm not the word police, guys. I'm just sharing what I've learned. There's a great joke with senior. Have any of you ever done it? Once you become 50, you walk up to the counter and you say, I would like the senior discount, but don't you dare call me a senior. Brittany, it's kind of like your elders who live and who that you work with. Yep. So again, not telling anyone what to do. That particular gerontologist recommended, and he used older adults. And to be honest, that's kind of what I see happening around the country. I happen to be a co-editor of an international journal, and we've asked our authors to always use older adults. And then, of course, you can never go wrong when you just talk about people, and certainly their names if it's appropriate in how you're talking. And then, if the age is important, indicate it. Sometimes, if I'm trying to honor someone who's older than me, maybe it's appropriate to say she's my elder. Maybe, I think it has more meaning right there than just calling everybody an elder, maybe. But that's just me. And we really are faced with now that we have a lot of people of a lot of ages now where we work. Here's another one. I hope we don't hear this too much anymore. They suffer with dementia. And so that in our movement moved over to they live with dementia. And to be honest, we don't say they live with diabetes so much, live with this and that. So I've realized the way you say any kind of condition is they have, diabetes, they have dementia. That's what I'm moving to. And then Dr. Al Power is a leader in the movement and particularly working with people who have dementia. And I love how he says, actually, it doesn't always need to be viewed negatively because we don't know how life is for this person with a dementia. One day might be better than another. It's not always negative. And he would liken it to if one of us lost our leg, God forbid, we would have to just learn how to live life differently without that leg. And then he also has moved over to referring to someone who has changing cognition. Again, trying to be a little more respectful and maybe more descriptive of what truly is happening. Now, please be aware of this, everyone. We are fast to say pejorative language, and I'd love for someone to please look up the word pejorative, or does anyone know what that means? We in this business tend to say things like, oh, we let our residents sleep, or we let our residents have a pet if they want one. We allow our residents, we permit. I remember doing an initial licensure survey in Colorado, and the policy said each resident is permitted to have one plant. And I wanted to throw up. Sorry, I really did. How dare we talk like that? And how dare we say they can only have one plant, right? There's a lot of weird stuff out there. Beware of your own policy. So did anyone look it up? Does anyone know, or can you guess, what does pejorative mean?
What does pejorative mean?
Yes. Pam is asking her phone. Thank you, Pam.
Expressing contempt or disapproval.
Content or
expressing contempt.
Oh, there we go. Contempt and disapproval, you guys. Whoa, that is harsh. Now, I've always also seen it as patronizing, right? We let our residents sleep in because who's in charge? See, that's the problem with the institutional model. And so what would the opposite of that be? We let them. What would you guys maybe say instead? If you're going to stop waking people up, how would you describe it?
Encourage, support.
Yes, that's right. I love saying those words, you guys. We have changed our systems to support people to sleep. And it's not really even sleep in, you guys. If you move in this direction, see, when we say sleep in, it sort of feels like it's just the weekend and they get to sleep in today. But the goal here really is to not wake people up. And I want y'all to know, many Wyoming nursing homes are doing that. It takes time. It takes your whole team. It takes effort. But after that, it's easy. And you got to hear the Westward Heights story. Yes, that's right, Patrick. We support their decision too. And so personally, if I got to work with all of you, I would hone it like we have changed our systems in order to support sleep. Sleep is so healthy. We honor a person's circadian rhythm. Nurses, we could use your help to focus on circadian rhythm, help people not to be woken up, to get restorative sleep. I don't know why that's been lost in our business. And we encourage people to sleep until they wake up. Here comes some more. I got a funny question for you already. How many of you, raise your hand, were admitted to the house you live in? I don't see any hands. Here's another one. How many of you were discharged from the last house you lived in? Oh, and you're willing to admit it. Isn't that funny? You could play around with that. These are not normal words that have to do with normal living and normal life. Notice again, they lean towards admitted like a hospital. We just read that, right? A patient is registered for care. Even worse, we say we place mom, we put mom. No, you put things on a shelf, right? We helped mom move into a nursing home, or we had a new neighbor move in, or Fred moved in. So, and then people move out or relocate. Sadly, you know that word elope in real life, you know what elope means, right? Here's a funny true story. In Colorado, a resident overheard staff talking, team members talking, and they heard the team members talking about another person who lived there who eloped. And this person said, hey, I didn't even know she was dating. So the point there is we use weird words in this business, and it actually opens up the possibility of people not understanding what we're talking about. Think of people from other countries, and then we do stuff like that. And sadly, we even say it worse sometimes, they escaped. No, beware of that. Someone maybe left the building and we didn't know it. You know, older people are quite all right saying that someone died. And when we say expired, think about this, what really expires, right? Someone say milk. And then I would really invite you to help get rid of this word, the word intervention. If you think of your real life, okay, apart from your work, maybe you're with family or friends, you're out to dinner. And if the word intervention is being talked about, it's kind of a big bad deal. There's an addiction and a family has to make a hard decision to intervene. Or think of police. We want them to intervene when something bad's happening. And I don't know why this weird word, probably it came out of nursing. That's no offense to nursing, but when you think of medical care, like medical problem, this is our history, what you don't have to do, medical problem, goal, intervention, right? But the powerful language I would propose is to switch it over to approach, and even better, individualized approaches. Because every time you take a breath, you're going to say a word, and it's either going to keep perpetuating the old culture, or it could perpetuate a better home normal culture. And individualized approaches does that. Plus, I believe it actually says more what we mean. If you think about that list, they really are approaches. How to approach Brittany different than approach Pam. In fact, I think it's better. It's more clear. Notice I didn't say home like. I'd love to invite all of you to drop that one. We don't want home like. Leaders in our movement, Nancy Fox would say, we don't put food down and say, here's some food like substance. And she's right. And our language goes first. So I invite you to consider talking about home more, or talk about what would help make this true home and help people feel at home. And then we have the lovely word toileting. How many of you say, excuse me, I'll be right back. I'm going to go toilet myself beware of this. Even if you don't say it in front of the people who live there, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's in our paperwork, and it's even on the MDS, right? It's in the regs. Shame on us, I think. And just help move the needle over. It's not normal language. It's degrading, really. And just get back to what we all say, like the bathroom or the restroom, or from Brittany Hall and her folks, Tammy Morrison, freshen up, right? And then, did you know ambulate does not mean walk? And you could all look this up. And so that word just bums me out. It's another word that we use. We think we know what we mean, but it's not true. So again, if you mean walk, please say walk. If you mean they can propel their wheelchair, say that, see? Because ambulate actually means movement. And here comes combative. Combative, what's that mean? What's it mean to you? What's it mean to you? It probably means different things to everybody. So we're learning to say what exactly happened. I mentioned we're getting rid of unit and wing and station and hall and hallway and moving towards neighborhood or sometimes a street name. You'll see that with Life Care Center of Casper in a couple months. They will be sharing their journey. They have street signs, and it's cool. Way to go, you guys. Or if someone lives in a house or a household, you would use that language, right? So good. Beware, most homes don't really have a lobby. I don't, or refer to the common area. So have fun using normal words like living room. Another word that has to do with you all, sometimes we call you the frontline caregivers. Isn't that sad? And look at what we've been through. I mean, you really were in a case of a pandemic, but before a pandemic, we even used this language. And when you say frontline, what's the insinuation? Where are you? Where does the word frontline belong, everybody?
Battlefield.
That's right. That's right. I've always thought how sad that we would use this kind of language. And what are we telling each other subconsciously even, right? To me, it's like my weird brain thinks like this. Okay, Pam, you go in first. And if you come out, then I will join you. You see, like we're subconsciously saying it's a battlefield, right? So many have gone to direct caregivers or hands-on team members. That's really lovely. Or just say CNA or nurses, whatever it is. Another weird one is I had to work the floor. I'm on the floor. I had to be on the floor. I had to work the floor. And isn't it sad? What we really mean is I got to be with people who live there. And if you're a nurse, I think it actually means I passed meds. How about you? Okay, I'm running out of time. Here's this word we actually refer to as the F word, everyone. I didn't make that up. It was at a big national symposium. It was so cool. Someone came up to the mic, you know how you come up to the mic and you go, tap, tap, is it working? I have shared with my team that facility is our new F word. And ever since 2008, our whole movement has referred to that. So if you think that's funny and you want to use it, please do. If not, just have people look it up. What is a facility? Like, here's a great example. A school is a facility. You know why? Because people don't live there. Isn't that sad? So I invite you to consider home, community, or just keep referring to the name of the place. That's another great way to avoid that term. 100-bed facilities, also pretty depressing. We tend to talk about beds more than people. Again, it's kind of wordy. You could say this is a 110-person home, but that's really what it is. Or this is home to 110 people. And if you mean bedroom, say bedroom. But if you mean people, say people. And we really don't need to refer to beds ever, to be honest. And then notice I haven't said our industry. You could technically, I guess, someone told me once, but what comes to your mind typically when I say industry? What comes to your mind? And yes, I will have handouts, everybody, of this. And I have a 3-page handout I've created. If you want it, let me know. So the word industry typically refers to like manufacturing. So ours is better than that. You could consider services or field or profession. Census is a weird word. You could refer to 100 people live here today. And you could, instead of occupants, say maybe 110 people could live here. And I know it's weird to some of your ears. You've never, ever heard this before, but that's where it begins. Okay, I got to skip some stuff, and that's okay. This always happens to me because I put too much in there. And I want you to listen to 2 colleagues. I'll just add these to something else, guys. Pam Schrecker, Activity Coordinator, Star Valley. Wait till you hear what they did with language. Thanks, Pam.
One thing I wanted to kind of bring out was how much our language affects how we feel about something. I like to use a form on my password on my computer that says, I love my job. Every time I type in, I say, I love my job. And think about what you would feel like if every time you typed in your password, you put, I hate my job. I hate my job. And when we talk about and use the language, it does change our total attitudes toward who we're serving and who we, and our friends there in the nursing home. So we've done several things to try to just bring a little bit of fun into it. We started off by, I had one of our neighbors to make these pins, and we gave a pin to every resident, every team member. And every time they use the word staff, facility, or toilet, they lost one of their pins. And then we just had a little thing there where you got a prize for the person who had the most pins at the end of the month. Another thing we did, we had the get the word out jar, and on the side of the jar you can see I have eloped, instead of saying left the building, to allow or help or to take to the bathroom. And if this one was a little bit more of a positive rather than the negative connotation, where if they said something good, you could actually put it on a piece of paper and put your name on it. Or if they said, I'm going to discharge, then you could say, okay, the word discharge should be move out. So it was also a kind of a positive connotation at the same time. This last, we found that we were really very much into it when we were first into our culture change training, and I found ourselves getting a little bit lax. And so this last team meeting we had, I went ahead and did a little bit more training, and we grabbed a bag of candy. And I started grabbing some different words and had them give me better words to use instead. And we just threw candy at them, and it made it just a little bit more fun. But just to bring to mind, the language is so important.
Oh, Pam, thank you. That's awesome. 3 ideas from Pam Schrecker, you guys, personally. And I just want to point out on the slide, everyone, we've been using the Artifacts of Culture Change tool. I'd like you all to know more about that. It's coming up in 3 sessions. So keep coming to these, and notice it is considered a practice of a change culture to work on language. So with that, Brittany Hall, would you please share what you have been doing? Speaking of chocolates and candy.
I was at Life Care when they were working on their culture change journey, and excuse me, for language, I didn't want to be negative. I didn't want anything to be, for there to be a negative. So I would keep my pocket full of candy, just whatever, I had lying around in my office. Hershey's always goes over best because chocolate's awesome. But anytime anybody would use a word that was better, or they would say, can I help you to the bathroom, instead of let's go toilet that person, or calling them or a neighbor, any of those words we wanted to switch to, I would give a piece of candy and make sure that you made a big deal. It sounds really bad, but kind of like when you're rewarding a puppy, oh my gosh, that's the word, that's my girl, way to be. And they would actually, after we got going a little bit, they would see you coming down the hallway, and they'd be like, hey, Brittany, I'm using the word, because they want the candy. And so it was just a fun way to get some of that moving forward.
That is wonderful. Thank you, Brittany. And Tammy, you guys are online as well. Is there anything you'd like to add? Brittany has transitioned with Tammy. Just want to recognize Life Care of Casper for doing that. You all could do this. Woo, do it. And guess what? We have a dining manager in the kitchen. She has a marker board. It says individual equals person living in our home, old terms, patient, resident, can also use person, neighbor, or community member. Isn't that great? So we all can contribute. Do any of you have questions, comments, ideas? Maybe just tell me in the chat first or butt in. I don't care. Otherwise I'll just keep telling you some stuff, okay? Ooh, I have 8 whole minutes, guys. I need every minute. So I'm going to back up a smidge and show you some things, okay? Language resources. I mentioned the paper, and also email me if you want that 3-page language handout. Let's see, here's another slide with other language resources. Remember that if you do take on new language, it's awkward. Leaders of language admit it will be awkward. It won't feel right. Okay. And you'll kind of have some pressure around you. You kind of put it on yourself. Like if you're in kind of a high level, I don't know, meeting with the very clinical people, you might feel like you should use that language, but you don't have to. And I'd be curious to know, does anyone even notice? Do people notice that I say community instead of facility? I don't know. I really don't know. But we all know it's a way to role model. It's the only way to move in that direction. And then kind of like you heard here, to draw attention to it, another way would be to say out loud, oh, you guys, I'm trying not to say that word facility because it has nothing to do with home. Catch me. You might even say, catch me. I want to do better. And that's a beautiful way to role model. And I would just invite you all to think about what are you going to do next out of this session today? What's one thing you could change in your language personally? And what's one thing you could do to invite your team to also do it? And then another thing we all have to be aware of is this, okay, I got to read this. I got to read it as written. Beware, do you express negative attitudes toward aging? And if we in the aging field do not speak positively of aging, who will? Do you realize that? So, Eric, you're not elderly. And when my husband, who's around our age, says I'm old, I say, honey, save it. Save it till you're 80, because then you really are old, And it's a beautiful thing, a good thing, not a bad thing. I'll give a true confession, everyone. My best friend had a birthday last March. She's in March, I'm in May, born the same year. And I started to say, happy birthday, Michelle, to my, oh, I won't say how long, to my longest friend, you see. And so I caught myself and I said, Michelle, you've been my friend for 51 years. Why would I be ashamed to say that? And it drew tears, it does, thinking about it, And it makes me mad that our society acts like that's a bad thing, that I'm 56. I'm 56, and you will be too if you're not yet. And some of you were 56, and it just is what it is, right? And if we don't talk positive about aging, no one else will, guys. We have such a wonderful opportunity. Another neat saying in our movement is rampant normalcy. How do you like that? It's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool. You could glom onto that. Rampant normalcy. That's what we're going to do. Everybody think. And then I want to give you another idea for changing language at the very end. So forgive me. I'll give you some takeaways, but some advertising first. Our next free webinar right here, the last day in February. It says August. Don't look at that. Sorry. Everybody, February 24th, same time always, 2 p.m. Mountain. Get on my mailing list and or Jill Holt. Jill sends to every DON and every administrator of every nursing home. So if you are not them and you want to get on another web mailing list, please let me know and save the dates. And next one is employee council and engagement, employee engagement ideas. We have 2 big goals, our coalition, and we need your help. We can't do it without you. We call them our big audacious goals, that we would love for every single person working in a nursing home in Wyoming to learn about culture change. And we're setting it up for free, and we need your help at least every last Friday. Yay is right. And then also another big one. Ready, Brittany? Let's both clap. That everyone who lives in a nursing home in Wyoming does not get woken up. That is our big audacious goal. We'd love to help you get there. Why? Because when you have restorative sleep, your body actually heals, everybody. People are worried about skin. Guess what? It gets better. Why? Because they're sleeping. Isn't that interesting? Amazing. And it improves everything, right? We're in a better mood. Everything's better when we have good sleep. I am looking for 1 or 2 homes to join the 3rd year. I get to work with 5 homes more intimately. All it means is you commit to learning on these webinars, and you commit to a monthly coaching call, and you commit to implementing at least 3 practices. In our first year, Pam Sprecher and her team represent one of our first year homes. Pam, you guys implemented 12. You were supposed to do 3. Brittany at Life Care of Casper, I think I might have counted 15. I'm not sure. In the running there with you, Pam. Yeah. And then if you want to apply, there's a few things I have to have from you, and then you're in. Let me know. And we have a big conference coming up in person, God willing. All the other ones got canceled, but plan to join us in Lander on August 11th for a free all-day workshop. You see, we're going to start by actually talking about what we've all been through, debriefing, living and working in a pandemic, and how people have found hope, and we're going to encourage each other. We just can't start without talking about that. And then we're going to have a leadership session, a restorative sleep session, and engaging families as partners session. So please at least send 1 person. And actually, I'd really like to ask for at least 2. There's only 36 nursing homes in your state. If we got 2 from each one, that'd be great. And you could certainly send more. And so my encouragements here at the end for you is another fun idea is to put up posters and put old language, new language, or disrespectful language, respectful language, institutional language, non-institute, normal. We got to get that word normal in there and start gathering people's thoughts. You could go slower. You could break those up. You could also do this with culture. What is old culture and what do we want new culture to look like? It's really powerful. And be mindful, like we said, of your own speaking. Sometimes we call it institution speak. If you like that, you could refer to that. Be proactive. You know, it's kind of hard to correct people. So you notice you heard a lot of ideas on how to reward for the game itself. Build in the correction, and you don't have to do that kind of thing all the time, but like Pam did it and then didn't do it. You could make a pact with each other. You can correct me. Tell each other, you may correct me. That's powerful. That's really powerful. Leaders do that. I recommend you all do that. You could also do a word of the month or a word of the week. We have kind of found that word of the week flies by pretty fast. If you like that, fine. But word of the month maybe settles in better. I'm not telling you what to do, experiment. And then you could also look up words. Like today I had you look up a lot of words. You could also have a game. I have this too. We could do it sometime. We call it the real definition. So like theater, what's the real definition? And that is another way to get people to think. Notice the play on words today, the title, and Pam used it too, get the word out. I just love that. And then I really invite you to also consider talking more about life than care, because that will help language. It will help culture. And we have a few things. Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, thank you. Brittany put in my email. Perfect. And Tracy, I love this. This would be great for hospitals. If any of you can get into hospitals and do some of this or get us to do it, we will. And with that, I think we're done. Woohoo. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, everybody. Yay. This was a good showing. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much. Thanks for your help, Brittany. Bye, everybody.